Okay. So we talked yesterday about what do you believe? What are the things that are keeping you from achieving all the things that you want? We went through these 9 domains and we went down this rabbit hole of all the different areas of our life that can keep us from achieving the things that we want based off what we believe to be true or based off what we believe is not true, right? And our brain is waiting for us to train it. It is waiting for us to come off of the autopilot portion of the program. Yeah, Sharon, a reminder that we alone are responsible for our own healing. Yeah. And it's hard, right? Because sometimes these are the lessons that we want somebody else to learn for us and just tell us what to do and I'll do it, right? And going through that journey. And for those of you who may not remember me or are new to day 2, or you are watching on the replay, we had about 30 of you guys watching on the replay yesterday, and thank you so much. So wherever you are watching this from, whatever time we had the UK yesterday, we had Australia, we had Switzerland. So thank you guys so much. So whenever you are watching this replay, we will make sure we get it to you, because I know some of you are trying to watch live, and unless you are on the Zoom, you didn't get to do it because the technology just didn't work, but that's going to be okay. So for moving forward with this, I want us to go through, and here we go. Awesome. Remind you all who I am. My name is Darla Bonk, founder of Darla Bonk Consulting, and I am also a recovering bad decision maker. We talked about this yesterday, and I shared this with you guys of what transpired in my life, what lessons I had to learn in order to overcome the obstacles that were in my way so that I could get on my way to building and living a life that I love. And now I'm able to take all of these lessons and concepts and training that I've gone through and share them with you so that you can learn from my scars and not have the long runway of healing time and the long journey of just sitting in the junk like I had to do, and that you can get onto living the life that you love. And that's the whole entire goal. It's why we're here, right? It's why we're put on this earth, is to have a life that we can all be proud of and love and live it to the fullest, right? So I want to congratulate you for being here. You're here. You showed back up again. So congratulations to you, because I hope that as you are back today and listening from wherever you are, that you will make that commitment to decide that the commitments you're making, not only for this week, but the lessons that you're learning, the things that your brain is being open to, that you will decide to make that commitment to stay focused in the areas of your life that need that special attention so that you are able to succeed in your life. Now, in your notebook, guys, I believe it's on the second or third page, you're going to see a page that on the bottom left-hand side is going to ask you a question. It's going to ask you, what do you need an answer to? Whether it's today or in the entirety of this session, what do you need an answer to? What do you need an answer for? What do you need to recognize? What do you need to have answered that will get you out of being stuck, that will get you out of the rat race of feeling like you are just spinning over and over again on a hamster wheel? What do you need that one question to be? And I'm going to ask you to take just a second, even from yesterday to today. What's the one thing kind of rattling around in your mind that you are really starting to think about, and understanding that maybe you need to go and explore that further? If you're confident enough, or comfortable, I should say, enough to put that in the chat, go for it. Otherwise, put that down on your paper. If you're not comfortable putting everything in the group chat, you are more than welcome down in the bottom right hand of the chat to change that from the meeting group chat to just my name and send that directly to me. It's whatever you're comfortable with. This is for you. So take just a minute and let me know, or let yourself know, what is the one thing you need an answer to? What is the one thing in your life you need an answer to that you are really struggling with, that you are really trying to get an answer for, that you need an answer for. And put that in the chat if you are so comfortable. While you are doing that, I just want to let you know, on that same page where you have the question in your notebook, you will see a circle around 2 of the lessons. So I teach this self-sabotaging training intensely in the companies that I go in and do consulting for, in their high performance teams, their sales teams, their board of directors, of overcoming the different ways people think through the self-sabotaging behavior to build consensus and bring in solutions and find resolutions for common problems in businesses. There are 2 lessons that we're going to highlight today. It's lesson 1 and it's lesson 2. Lessons 3 through 8, I'm not going to get into. We don't have that type of time. But if it is something that you're interested in and learning more about, reach out to me. I'd be happy to share that with you and talk a little bit more about what that looks like when I go out and do that. Okay, yes, Karen, what is the next step I need to do to get in the right direction? And am I brave enough to do it? Love how you worded that. Basically having issues, listen to my inner wisdom right now. And this is so fitting. And I didn't even ask Karen to say this, but this is so fitting to where we're headed today, guys. So again, if you need to take more time for that, feel free to do that. One of the things I want to have you do, however you got here, whatever your morning looked like, or whatever yesterday after our time looked like, I want you to just stop for a second and we're just going to take a deep breath. I just want to get us focused and ready for today. So I want you to take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And do just one more. And all right, guys, it is time to go to work. It is time to train, and in some cases, retrain our mind to do the work that we need to do to be able to answer the questions that you guys have in front of you, that you've written down, or that you're lingering around in your mind, have lingering around in your mind. So put it in the chat if you are familiar with the concept of positive intelligence. You may have heard about it, you may not have all of the understanding of it, but maybe you are familiar with it in some kind of way. Positive intelligence, really simply stated, because again, I told you guys this yesterday from a psychological perspective. I'm a nerd. I've gone down the rabbit holes of all of this from the neuroscience and everything. But simply put, your positive intelligence or your positive intelligence quotient is the percentage of time that your mind is acting as your friend rather than as your enemy. Or in other words, how often is your mind serving you versus sabotaging you? And positive intelligence really measures relative strength of the 2 modes of your mind, which is just a positive intelligence that is high or a positive intelligence that is low. And a high positive intelligence just serves you rather than it is your enemy when it comes to your mind. And a low positive intelligence means you are more so having a mind that is sabotaging you. You tend to focus on those things that don't serve you. So here's a visualization of this. Here's your positive intelligence. What percentage of time do you focus on your mind and how much it is serving you and how much it is sabotaging you? What percentage of your mind sends you positive thoughts throughout the day, helpful thoughts throughout the day? And what percentage of time do you spend going down the rabbit holes of the negative connotations, the negative thoughts, the negative thought patterns that come up, the what ifs, the coulda, woulda, shoulda? What percentage of your time is spent thinking about those things? And it is important to know whether you have a high positive intelligence or a low positive intelligence, because you have to know your enemy. You guys, you have to know your enemy, and your enemy is your mind. That's why we have to train it. That's why we have to get control over our mind, because otherwise the thoughts that come in, we have anywhere, depending upon which study you want to listen to, 30,000 thoughts or 50,000 thoughts randomly coming through our mind day in and day out. There's no way we can process all of those, right? But every once in a while, as those thoughts are coming in, we land on one and we stew on it. Is that serving you, or is that thought the rabbit hole because you want to go down that trajectory of negative thoughts because you just want to fester in it and sit in it because of a situation? You have to know what your enemy is doing, and you have to be able to take control over it. And here's why. Why does it even matter? Because there are 7 different discoveries that are going to help you in determining how important this is with your mind. Okay, we talked about the visualization, and the number one, the power that visualization has in your mind. Remember, I told you yesterday about those 2 piano players where they actually played the piano and the neurons were firing everywhere, and then they just visualized playing the piano and the same neurons fired. It's the same study with basketball teams, right? They go and have these players go and practice and practice and practice and shoot. And then they have these players go and visualize. It's the same type of thing. Your mind is a powerful visualizer. Number 2 thing about your mind is that smiling immediately is shown and proven scientifically, neurologically, to improve your mood. I can remember back in corporate world when we used to take calls at a call center, and they would have us have a little sticky mirror at our computers. Why? Because before you answer the phone, you smile. Because chances are we were getting ready to get yelled at by somebody doing customer service. But there was an opportunity for us to smile, and in smiling impact our own mood, which hopefully would impact theirs. It is also said that the power of the mind, that thought management can lower stress. Thought management can lower stress. Remember, I told you yesterday, the brain can't tell the reality away from the imagination. So our thought management, our ability to train our mind, can also lower our stress levels, right? And our brain can produce serotonin all on its own. If your serotonin levels are too low, you might find it difficult in finishing things, being active and controlling your impulses. But if your brain can remedy this, then you can produce serotonin levels. Easy ways to do it. I'm in Florida. I can go out and get some UV light. It produces vitamin D, which is a major production of serotonin. I can give it a massage, exercise, all of those things that increase endorphin levels, which boosts serotonin. Your brain can do it on its own. And then, of course, it is proven scientifically that positivity prolongs your life. Positivity can prolong your life. Because the muscles of the brain that give us access to our greatest wisdom and insights, they remain weak because we are banking on, just like we do our heart, we bank on our ability to breathe in and breathe out. We bank on everything in our body working autonomously, right? But we have to use the muscle of our brain. We have to train our bodies. We have to train our mind. We have to train our thoughts. It is not going to be done through osmosis. And the reason why most of the things that you learn in a course, in a conference, in a training situation is because you are intrigued because of your motivation. But it is when you get outside of those heightened learning or lab-like situations that you lose the motivation. And you have to understand that the activities and choices that you're making and the commitments you're making must have nothing to do with how you feel about them. It's about the discipline and the training of your mind, right? So let's talk about some of the benefits. There was a study that was done, 200 different scientific studies done that studied 275,000 people. And it showed, of course, that a higher positive intelligence quotient score, the amount of time your mind serves you rather than sabotages you, creates greater wealth and income, greater success in your work, in your families, in your friendships, in your creativity. Of course, right? We all know that. But we still, in our minds, get into this fight or flight mode, thrive mode versus survival mode. I told you guys yesterday about how I was just existing. I was just surviving. I wasn't thriving. This is why you guys see so much online about the growth mindset versus a scarcity mindset, right? And we need to get more into the thriving portion of the program than we are into the surviving portion of the program. But let me ask you this. And there should be a page in your notebook to just take some general notes. So this is where I want you to write this down. How much time do you spend in thinking about categories like this on a daily basis? How much time do you spend thinking about these types of things? How much time do you spend being stressed out, overwhelmed, burnt out, bored, anxious? How much time do you spend doubting yourself, questioning your life choices, worrying about financial issues, criticizing yourself and others, procrastinating, comparing, judging others and judging yourself? I want you to take some time here. And how much time do you really spend in this area? How much time do you really spend thinking about these things that don't serve you? And I want to ask you to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself when you answer these questions. And I want you to attach time to this. On those notes, I want you to attach some time on it. Attach some time to it. How much time do you spend? How much time do you spend worrying about tomorrow, worrying about what was, worrying about coulda, woulda, shoulda? How much time do you spend thinking about those things that don't serve you? So here's a visualization of this. We have a powerful state and we have a primal state. In the powerful state, you're thriving. You are hitting on all cylinders. You are hopeful. You are excited about your future. You have a peace. You have a sense of calm. You're courageous in your choices. You trust yourself. You're optimistic about your future. You're confident. In a primal state where you're just surviving, you're stressed out. You have overwhelm. You're disappointed. You're bored. Maybe you're even angry. You worry. Even the smallest thing can irritate you. Based off these kind of action words or thoughts, now do you really start to get a visual of how much time you really spend in a powerful state versus a primal state? So how many hours in a day do you spend in primal state? How many hours in a day do you spend? Is it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? Yeah, don't I spend too much time thinking about non-productive things? Yeah, it happens to the best of us, guys. And this isn't something that I am pointing out for you to say, oh, shame on you. This is the reality of where all of us are. And until we get this realization, remember I told you yesterday, you cannot know where you're going if you don't know where you are. You have to be honest with yourself, because the biggest lies are the ones we tell ourselves, right? So let's just say for easy math, you spend 2 hours a day thinking about these things, right? And let's say for 2 hours a day, that gives us 730 hours a year. And let's just say for those of you who are business owners, whatever you do, let's say you make $100 an hour doing what you do. Well, if you were to spend that amount of time in primal state, you have a loss of $73,000 of income because you're sitting in that primal state and you're festering in that primal state and you're staying in that primal state. And it is not just financial loss. You aren't being present with your family. You're not showing up in relationships. You're showing up in meetings and already thinking about the next meeting, right? There's nothing about you that is present and hopeful and powerful because you're sitting in a primal state. So the issue in the brain is that we have to train it to get over these cognitive biases that we have before we've ever even tried to proactively and consciously apply any type of strategy to what we're trying to accomplish. Because subconsciously, we are being sabotaged by our experiences that we had because we attached beliefs to experiences we've had along the way. So that's why we have to train the brain to recognize self-sabotaging behavior. So let's just throw a little fun light on this to give you a good visualization. So I love memes. So welcome to the meme portion of the program. So this might be you if Rome is burning, but you're going to light a cigarette to make the best out of a bad situation that you created. Or it's been a perfectly good day, but you start to overthink it. And before you know it, you have hosed the kingdom down to the ground. Or you started out in 2024, great year. It's going to be an awesome year. You started making these bad decisions. Remember, no judgment. I'm a recovering bad decision maker. And it's not even June now, it's August. What in the world have I done with 2024? Where did it go? I don't even have anything to show for it in my life, let alone in my business. I am just on autopilot. I'm on the hamster wheel, right? Anybody relate? How about this one? Here's your goal, but you are so riddled and overcome with self-doubt that that goal seems impossible. Maybe you need to put the self-doubt down and lay it down and realize you can accomplish the goal. And maybe you don't think you have enough time to pursue your dream, but you could tell me about every show that's happening on Netflix or Prime Video or Apple TV or every sport from the Olympics or every XYZ, right? Or maybe here's the Jenga and you see yourself going into self-sabotage, and in honor of the Barbie movie from last year, you see that you're doing it, but you just can't stop yourself. Anybody relate? Yeah, Sharon, every event in the Olympics, every event in the Olympics, yeah, right? And we sabotage the great things in our lives because deep down, we don't feel worthy of having those things. That's what it boils down to. Because somewhere along the way, we are holding on to what we have believed to always be true based off experiences we've had sometimes 40 and 50 years ago. And now those people aren't even in our lives anymore, but it was so tainted and painted on our lives that we are going to make sure that we honor what they said about us to be true, because it's the only way we can feel attached to them. And so I want to ask you, what word comes to mind when you think about self-sabotage? What word comes to your mind when you think about self-sabotage? And I want you to understand self-sabotage, I'm not talking about something so literal as you cut your ear off to spite your face. I am talking about the very, very slight thoughts that make us question everything. Because here's what self-sabotage is. It is the conscious or unconscious behaviors and actions or thought patterns that undermine our own progress, well-being, and success. So what idea, what word, what thought comes to mind when you think about your life and self-sabotage? What comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? And if you aren't sure, don't worry, because I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some. So here we go. Welcome to the resistance. Okay. Yeah, downward spiral for sure. The resistance is everything that is going to happen when you have a low positive intelligence score that is going to make you or keep you from doing what consciously you know you are incredibly worthy of doing and having and accomplishing. This is the resistance happening in your mind. All right. First, I would like to introduce you to the saboteurs. The saboteurs are going to be these negative thought processes that you have in your mind, negative thought habits, limiting beliefs, patterns you go down. Oh, I see this is going to be something that could be great, but I also know what's happened before. So let me go ahead and sabotage this so I can do it rather than have somebody do it to me. That's what this is going to be. Okay. So the first up is the master saboteur, and he's called the judge. There are going to be accomplices that you're going to meet here in a minute, but your master saboteur is the judge. And we all make these decisions and think through lenses in our life through our independence, our acceptance, or through our security. Yes, Karen, there are slides. Is everybody else able to see the slides? I just want to make sure I'm on all the right things so everybody can see. Karen, maybe try going out and then coming back in and see if that will work. So we have the master saboteur, he's the judge. So a lot of us have this independent thought that we have, this independent way of thinking, or maybe we make our decisions based off our need to accept, our need to be accepted, but we have this independence that we're looking for, we have this acceptance that we're looking for, and we have this security that we're looking for, right? And so when we go through all of that, we realize that here's this accomplice that's going to help us to accomplish all of these things that are going to help sabotage our life. The avoider, the controller, hyperachiever, hyper-rational, the victim, the stickler, the hyper-vigilant, the pleaser, and those of us who are restless. And we're going to get into this really hot and heavy here in just a second. But we all have three main styles that we operate from in our personalities that will help us attach to one of these saboteurs and relate to or align with these saboteurs. And it is the people who are assertive, the commanding people who are just going to steamroll through everybody. There is the earners. I'm going to earn the respect. I'm going to earn the work that has to be done. And there are the avoiders. I'm just going to withdraw from this situation because I don't want anything to do with it, right? And so when you're going through this piece, I want you to let me know when one of these relates to you. So here we go. You might be an avoider. When there's drama, when there's chaos, when there's conflict, you are going to avoid that with everything that you have in you. You might be the control freak, where as long as I'm controlling what's happening, it's going to be okay. For years and years before I left my first marriage, I was able to keep some semblance of control because I knew the role I was supposed to play. And as long as I controlled the role I was supposed to play, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Maybe you're the hyperachiever. Remember me telling you guys I had never failed at anything in my life? Just keep swimming, you know. Maybe you're the hyperachiever, and as long as you stay busy and as long as you keep accomplishing things, you don't have to deal with anything. Maybe you are the hyper-rational, that you have everything according to a box of how it's supposed to go. You have a system of how things are supposed to work. There's a process of how things are supposed to work. And your methodology of doing things and having conflict resolution is all aligned with that. And if that's not in line, if people are just willy-nilly, creatives probably drive you crazy. How about hypervigilance? Where are my hypervigilantes at? You are the people who want to avoid every landmine. So you're going to constantly do all this extra work ahead of time to try to avoid everything that could go wrong. And God bless, I hope none of you are these people, but let's talk about helicopter parents. I'm going to avoid everything that could happen to my child. So I'm just going to remove every obstacle out of their way, rather than understanding that in doing so, you are removing their ability to gain confidence at an early age, problem solve at an early age, be able to handle conflict at an early age, and trust their decisions at an early age. Maybe you are the people pleaser, that as long as everybody's happy, I'm happy. I don't care, doesn't matter. I just want everybody to be happy. Let's just go with the flow. But in the meantime, you've given up your dreams and needs for everybody else. Maybe you are the restless one. Nothing ever satisfies you. You're constantly thinking about things. Your pillow hits the bed. I am a restless person. Your pillow hits the bed. Your head hits the pillow. And all of a sudden you're exhausted, but your brain says, oh, welcome. Let's have some conversation for the next 2 hours before you fall asleep, thinking about everything in the world and none of which really matter. And then my sticklers, where my OCD's at. My favorite is the top left-hand corner, where I've got somebody cutting the blades of grass with their scissors. And maybe you need things to be a certain way. And if you don't see things a certain way, or if things aren't perfect, you will abandon it, or you won't try it, or you'll walk away from it, because unless it's going to be perfect, you are not doing it. You are not going to do it. Right? And then maybe, as I was for quite a while, the victim. Maybe you're the victim. And it's easier for you to do this if you are the victim. It's easier for you to play this role if you are the victim. And so here we have all of these sabotaging behaviors and thoughts. And these thoughts go round and round and round in your mind, and you get overwhelmed by these thoughts. But what happens to the thoughts? We attach something to them based off what we believe. We attach emotions to those thoughts. The perfectionist, oh, this isn't going to be perfect. We don't need to do this. If we do this and my name's on it, it's going to look terrible. So I'm not putting my name on that. So you guys can do that all by yourself. We attach these emotions to these negative thoughts, to these self-sabotaging habitual thoughts. And before we know it, we are taking actions based off a thought we had randomly that all of a sudden put us in a bad mood. And now I'm mad at the whole world, right? How many of you, we're all guilty, are having a fabulous day, and you go to the wonderful social media, especially in the day and age of election years, you see something from somebody that you care deeply about, and they post something that you vehemently disagree with, and you are automatically enraged. And before you know it, you are typing away and you are commenting, and then you just have to hit the backspace a bunch of times, because you're like, I can't do that. I can't just react. Because that's what we are getting to, guys. This is the difference between reacting and responding. I want to be in a state of responding. I don't want to be in a state of reacting. Because when I get in a state of reacting in conversations with loved ones, I'm waiting for you to stop talking, come up for air, and then I am going to town in what I wanted to prove you wrong about. I never stopped to listen to a word you said. I already assumed what you were going to say and already had in my mind what I was going to say when you were done. if I didn't already interrupt you. And instead of responding and taking a moment to capture what you said and allow it to go through the filter of, yes, my biases, yes, my belief system, yes, these saboteurs, and say consciously, is what you said something I truly need to respond to, or doesn't it? Where is my high positive intelligence coming into work for me? Because right now, the low positive intelligence is hitting on all cylinders. And all I want to do is react and tell these people they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about on social media, right? We are all guilty. I don't need, I love the responses, but I don't need you guys to tell me, no, I never do it, or yes, I do. We've all done it. We all do it. Every last one of us. But what would happen if you got to a place where, regardless of the thought, you so had trained your mind and now it's muscle memory? Here's a thought. Do I need to worry about that? Or can that just be a drive-by thought? Can I just let that in and out the other? Or here's a thought. I really do need to think about that, because maybe that would change the trajectory of my family or our business or our finances. Maybe I need to slow down long enough and say, okay, here's a thought. Here's something I hadn't thought about before. Let's sit in this for a little bit. How does that thought make me feel? Remember my questions to you yesterday. Is that based off fact? Where is the proof? Where is the evidence that I should feel that way about that thought? Because now I am training my mind where we're going. Here's where I want to be in my life. Here's what I want to accomplish. Here's what I am building. And here's the life I want to live. And I want to love this life. You're bringing me a thought subconscious that doesn't serve me. I get the right to choose whether I attach an emotion of anger or resentment or bitterness. I get to attach that emotion. And because I've attached that emotion, I then get to decide what type of action or choices I'm going to make on any given day, at any given time, with any given person. Now I'm in the driver's seat. Doesn't matter the strategy. My brain is the strategy. Remember, my mind is the strategy. Because if you can accomplish that consistently every day, whatever strategy or modality you have for your life, your business, your health, your finances, you're going to accomplish it because your brain is going to be in the passenger seat. You're going to be driving what your mind focuses on, stays fixed on, and how you choose to move forward. But you have to be willing to go through and understand what those root causes are. What am I looking at and how did I get here? We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto, right? Those root causes. Why am I a perfectionist? Is it because back when I was little, as long as I was perfect, I didn't get yelled at, I didn't get beat, I didn't get whatever? Is it as long as I'm a people pleaser, I don't have to deal with conflict, because when there's conflict, I'm uncomfortable with that because I don't know how to have those conversations? All of the saboteurs, guys, are defense mechanisms. They're protective mechanisms. And they're also lies. They're also lies. And there is a place in your workbook that I want to stop here and have you take just a minute. And it asks you, I believe it's on the first journal prompt, reflect on an experience. And I do say recent experience on purpose. Reflect on a recent experience where you felt you may have engaged in self-sabotaging behavior. And write about the specific actions or thoughts that contributed to it and how it affected your progress or your well-being. And I'm going to give you guys here about 3 or 4 minutes to sit in this and write in this. Because I would assume with these examples of types of saboteurs, examples of experiences in your life have popped up that have kept you from being and showing up and doing the things that you know you are better than and able to do and worthy of doing, but your belief system or your limiting beliefs or your saboteurs kept you from that? So think about an experience. What was that like? What happened? And I know this is an overused word, but what triggered you to align with whatever saboteur came into play that made you say, oh, let's go down that rabbit hole? Take just a minute and answer that. What was the situation? What did it look like? What happened? And what was the outcome? What was the outcome? Which saboteur took over? Which saboteur took you down the rabbit hole that you didn't want to go down? And identifying that saboteur, can you identify even maybe earlier on in your life, maybe not even childhood, but just a different circumstance where you began to adapt a mindset based off of that saboteur? All right, and you guys can spend a little bit more time with that later, going down more of the details of that. But I would ask you to really think through that. And then on the other side of that page, there are some self-reflecting questions. You know, what are the common signs of self-sabotage that you've noticed in your life? Can you identify any patterns or triggers that lead to that behavior when it does come out? And how do you think self-sabotage has hindered your personal growth and success? You know, for some of you on here dealing with business issues or dealing with relationship issues, what contribution has reacting to based off of the saboteur inside of you has kept you from being able to accomplish those goals? But here's what is really, really cool. Built into every last one of us is a sage. And we have 5 powers within us as a sage. And we're going to get into this a lot deeper tomorrow, but I want to introduce these to you because I've painted a pretty bleak picture today. But I want to give you hope about the fact that there are triggers, but identifiers, triggers in their good way, identifiers that have come to save the day, your sage superpowers that have come to save the day. And it is your ability to empathize. It is your ability to explore. It is your ability to innovate and navigate and activate in the decision-making process of your life. Here's another way to look at it. You have these 10 saboteurs and you have these 5 sage powers. Here's the only nerdy portion of science I'm going to share with you. But on the left, you have your brainstem and the limbic system and parts of the left brain that are hitting on all cylinders, trying to make sure fight or flight mode, survive mode, that the primal state, that your saboteurs are activating on all four cylinders. Then your sage powers are being operated from the middle prefrontal cortex, from the empathy circuitry, and from parts of your right brain. And so we have to learn how to activate the portions of our brain that are going to help us. So let me just go back here for a second and give you just a quick little highlight, and then we're going to close up. So for the sage powers, in your ability to empathize, you're going to need this when you have strong feelings about something or when your emotional reserves are running low. And what you're going to need to do is to visualize as if you are talking to, maybe it's a child, or maybe it's someone who doesn't have the same intellectual skill set that you have. Maybe they're not as knowledgeable about a product or a topic as you are. How can you empathize with where they are to solve a problem? You are going to need the explorer power when you need to discover more about something and have a little bit more knowledge before you decide to act on it. So for example, somebody says something to you, you might have an opinion about something, but someone who knows more than you do about it tells you something that challenges what you believe about that topic to be true. Oh, that's a really interesting thing. I hadn't thought about it that way. That's your explorer. I hadn't looked at it that way. Your innovator is going to be needed when the obvious or existing ideas no longer suffice. And you have to think outside the box. This is where the yes and conversations come into place. We've done this, we've done this. Yes, and what else? We've tried everything. There's nothing else we can do to solve this problem. This client just is irrational and won't listen to us. Yes, and what else could we do? Because when you say yes, and your brain understands, I still have to operate. I need to innovate. Your brain is an operating system. You're giving it the control that it needs. You're telling it Control Alt Delete. You're telling it enter. You're telling it escape. You're telling it space, right? You are telling it by saying and that it needs to continue to dig deep and keep finding something. One of my clients, we were talking the other day, yesterday, and they were on a trip and they thought they had totally tapped into all of the options for their business. And we've been talking about this for quite a few months. And they came back with a whole new business strategy. And they thought they had tapped into everything already. We tap into what we believe we can do. We are able to innovate based off what we can identify, right? And so then navigating, this is needed when you have to find alignment with deeper values and purpose and meaning. So on the navigating piece of this, and I really want to get into this a lot more tomorrow, but it's really looking at how do I decide how to flash forward with what is remaining from an option perspective. And we're going to get into that a lot more tomorrow. And then your activating power is when you need to take action, but without saboteur interference. You have to preempt the thought process. I need to make a decision prior to the sabotaging behaviors coming in. For example, I know that I need to invest in this or invest in that, or I need to make changes in my life here or there. I need to eat better. I need to do this better. Oh, by the way, let's go get something to eat at Pizza Joint or Mexican Joint and eat all the chips and salsa. Before that can even come into play, I'm going to meal prep. Or before that can come into play, I'm going to go ahead and set aside these funds to keep up with my leadership development or with my business development or whatever that may be. So we're going to get into what these powers really are able to do tomorrow. And I hope you're going to start to get really motivated by the fact that, wow, all these things that I thought I didn't have control over, I actually do. And here is the roadmap in order to do it. So I'm going to go back to the first question I asked you guys today at the very top of the hour. What is it that you need an answer to? What do you need an answer to? And now that you understand the saboteurs, and now that you understand the impact that they have in your life, do you start to feel a little bit more encouraged about the fact that the thing that you need an answer to actually probably is sitting inside of you? You may just need some help in learning how to navigate into your mind and pull out that resource, pull out that solution, pull out that strategy, pull out that opportunity, pull out other ways to find new income for your business. There's so much opportunity sitting inside of you. It's up to you about what you believe to be true. Yeah, how to move forward and let go of the past. It is incredibly difficult. It is incredibly difficult, Dawn, but I will tell you all, and we're going to really talk through this a lot tomorrow. At the end of the day, it will come down to a matter of the choice you decide to make and the choice you're willing to live with. So with that, guys, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for sitting in, and I will see you guys right back here tomorrow at 12 Eastern Standard Time. Make it a great day. See you guys.